nothing but attorneys on it.
Okay.
And we went through the Central Regional Committee, and they're all attorneys.
Okay. They're all attorneys.
They're all attorneys from all the committees.
All right, okay. Well, the people don't even know what the judicial nominating committee is. All right. So now, let me tell you what it is, okay?
Go for it.
It's a private bar association saying who's going to be your judge. It's a bar association. And how did they become a judicial nominating committee? Well, when Dukakis was governor, and before that, he was a member of the bar, a member of the club. And you know, human beings and men in search of power and wealth, well, they're human, they're delinquent. And you know, the lawyers, they like to make unnecessary law. So they induced the caucus to issue an executive order after they first got him without the executive order, not to approve any judges to become judges unless the Bar Association said it was okay. Now, what does that mean? Well, you elected the governor. The governor's sworn up the Constitution to support it. He's a member of a private club, a professional club, that are going to make laws, rules, regulations, so that you can have justice. Rule under their rule of law. So they invent all kinds of rules, regulations, laws, and every time you make a law, a conflict ensues. We have more laws regulating people and people's lives in America than anywhere in the world. Right now, we have more laws, and more laws to regulate people and to deny people everything that they're supposed to have reserved to themselves. In other words, they couldn't make any law under the Constitution that was preserved by the states or the people. Like liberty, pursuit of happiness, you can't encroach on it, the right to own property, the right to go roller skating, the right to scream and yell, the right to use any language you want. And if you did it abusively or you did something wrong and you offended somebody and they made a complaint, if it was one person, the person would probably be compensated. If you annoyed or endangered the general public, it would be a crime against, a group of people. One would be a public annoyance, the other would be a public nuisance. And there were very few laws that would criminalize people, hold people accountable. And so we wind up with a whole bunch of laws. Well, how do we wind up with a whole bunch of laws? Well, the Constitution said rule of law. You got to have a separation of powers, check and balance. The executive can't encroach upon the legislature can't encroach upon the judiciary, and if we don't have that check and balance, we're going to wind up with a society ruled by men and not by law. And that's where we're at. So they promised us, they swore the truth, they'd uphold the Constitution, they lied like hell, committed perjury. The governor, you know what he just did? You see, the governor in this state, he really isn't a powerful guy. See, the governor is supposed to be, in this state, elected by the people to be governor. But he can't do anything without the advice and consent of the governor's council. Now, the governor's council elected by you, the people. And he can't do anything without the advice and consent of the governor's council. Now, a lot of the members of the governor's council are also lawyers, too. They're a part of an association. And 40% of the legislature are lawyers. And every one of them knows the law. especially the Constitution. You know, that's Law 101. Learn the Constitution, which is the rule of law. Then somebody was teaching them in the cellar how to break and offend the rule of law. They know how to do that. They were human. They were inclined to do it. They were ambitious. So along the line, the caucus is influenced to making an executive order to create a judicial nominating committee. The charge under the Constitution of the governor and the governor's council is mandated in the Constitution. They shall make nominations as judges. The governor shall nominate, and the nomination shall be approved with the advice and consent of the governor's council. Now, the governor's council is all powerful. But there are a lot of stupid governor's councilors because nobody pays too much attention to that. All right? I know how they get elected. You're supposed to know how they get elected, but you don't know. I know how they get elected. I know how they all get elected. You know how they're supposed to get elected, but you don't know how they get elected. I know how they get elected. The same way they made this law. Now, the governor can't abridge the Constitution. He can't change the Constitution. He can't change his duties and responsibilities. It's his job to nominate judges impartially. But he's got a 14th Amendment obligation. He has to consider you. Yeah, you. John Doe, stupid you and Mary and everybody else equally to consideration to be a judge. Now, you might think that a judge has to really understand the law. Not really. You have to understand the Constitution. And the Constitution says that a judge shall affirm and certify judgments. The Constitution says juries will make judgments. Because the Constitution, our founding fathers, says you can't trust judges, especially if they're lawyers. So our founding fathers, to protect you, said you could judge your peers.